The Diddy trial just wrapped up for the day, and am I allowed? Is this like a safe place? Can I say what we are all thinking? What we are all afraid to say after watching or I guess reading the transcripts for this Diddy trial today? While watching this, we all thought, Diddy, you are a bad boy. All right, bro, let me chill with the punchlines. But while watching this, I think we all thought, Diddy, you are a vile human being. You are terrible. You are a horrible boyfriend. You are criminally horrifying. You are one of Satan's greatest creations. You are a disgusting, vile man. But I don't feel like we watched that trial after hearing from Cassie, after hearing from the male gigolos. I don't feel like well, at least not most of us, walked away today feeling like Diddy is a trafficker. And that's the issue. That's the problem. Because this is what Diddy has been indicted for trafficking these women. Prosecutors laid this out plain and simple. They're saying Diddy's conduct was criminal. They're saying Diddy coerced women who he was dating, by the way, and transported them across state lines and even out the country to engage in these rendezvous. Here's where it gets tricky. They're not accusing Diddy of doing this with 1,000 random women, flying them out, strictly transactional, which I thought that was the case. They're saying this entire case, this entire trial is based around two women, Cassie and a Jane Doe, both in which Diddy was dating extensively. Like they were actual girlfriends of his. Diddy attorneys in their opening statement addressed the public perception of Diddy. They said, listen, if this was a domestic violence case, if this was a case of Diddy being accused of putting his hands on Cassie, he's guilty. He did it. But this is not what this trial is about. This trial is about him being accused of trafficking Cassie and this other woman in whom he dated extensively. They're not even charging Diddy for transporting and paying the male gigolos who engage in these free calls with him and Cassie, because Diddy never paid them. Diddy never handed them money. One of the male gigolos named Daniel Phillips, he took the stand today and he testified that Cassie is who he received payment from. Cassie handed him $4,000. Cassie used her credit card to book him from off their company's website. Cassie is who handled all the transactions and all the payments. Diddy never did it. Now, they will claim that Diddy never did it because Diddy was too paranoid of the police, but nonetheless, they can't charge him with transporting or paying them because Diddy never paid them. And Phillips testified that other times he did it for free because he was just happy to be in the presence of Diddy and Cassie. And he thought Cassie was one of the hottest women he've ever been with, so he would have done it for free, in which he did do it for free a couple of times. As a matter of fact, the only type of compensation that was ever mentioned was when Diddy would give Cassie gifts or take her on a shopping spree or give her money. And the feds would try to link this to he was doing this so Cassie could do this, so hence this is Bro, what? Listen, man, all men, imagine if this becomes a slippery slope, bruh, that getting your girlfriend's gifts and then having intercourse or engaging in a rendezvous, that equates to a federal trafficking charge. Imagine that slippery slope, dog. Imagine telling your girlfriend, hey, baby, my biggest fantasy is to be with two women at the same time. I've always wanted a threesome, babe. And she's a little reluctant, but you say, babe, just for my birthday, man, I just want this, please. Babe, I promise, if you give me what I want, I promise, I would do whatever for you, babe. I would wash your feet. I will pick the kids up every day. I'll take the trash out on time. Man, babe, for your birthday, I'll buy you a Chanel bag, babe. And then she finally agrees, right? She finally agrees, and you guys have to rendezvous. But then during the session, man, you start going ham. You start clapping cheeks, eviscerating the other girl cheeks, and she's looking like kind of upset. You feel me? Because because she's seeing you going crazy, bro, wiping the sweat off your forehead while you smack it. Bro, you out here, bro, you like the Terminator, bro. And she gets salty afterwards. And then you say, oh, babe, I'll make it up to you, man. I'm sorry, bro. And then you buy her the Chanel and another bag, and you take her out of the country on vacation just to make it up to her. And then by the time you look up, you in a courtroom for trafficking. Imagine If that's how slippery the slope was, bro. So yeah, Diddy is a garbage human being, right? I think Diddy should be in jail for putting his hands on this woman. But is what Diddy did trafficking? I don't think so, especially when you take a look into both women agreeing that the only reason why they did this was because they didn't want for Diddy to do it with anybody else. Cassie took the stand and testified that she didn't want to participate, but she felt trapped. She didn't have the words then. And when she told Diddy she didn't want to, she feared he'd just do it with someone else. That's the natural reaction of a girlfriend wanting to please the man she's with. Look at the timeline here. Diddy told Cassie, "This is my fantasy. This is something I've always wanted to do. I want my woman to do this for me." Cassie wanted to give Diddy his fantasy, so she agreed. She agreed to do it, but she thought it would be a one-time thing. The first meeting with the male gigolo, he would describe Cassie as, yo, she was excited. She was enjoying herself. She was having a good old time. She even said that he was her birthday present. As he was taking off his now, mind you, bro, this is a man who is certified in arousing women, bro. This is literally his career. So as he's taking it off, she said, "It's my birthday. Like, you are my birthday present." And he says, yo, she was enjoying herself. But she thought this was a one-time thing. Obviously, we know by now that it wasn't a one-time thing, and he kept on asking her to do it and do it and do it. And the more they did it, the freakier they got. Right? The more freaky the request got, the more things they did, the more they explored, and she felt nasty about it. She would enjoy herself in the moment, but then afterwards, she felt nasty inside, and she would say to such when she took the stand. "How did you feel?" Ventura responded back, "I was an object, being heavily objectified by men. Sometimes he would watch by FaceTime, so sometimes Diddy wasn't even in the room, and she was still showing out." Now, they says, "Were some sessions recorded on your devices?" And she agreed, right? Now, they will ask, yo, if you saw them on your device, what would you do? She says, "I would delete them." They said, "Why?" Cass responded back, "They were disgusting. I never wanted anyone to see them." Most people will have that reaction if they look back on all the freaky stuff they did in the bedroom. Most men actually have this reaction when, like, after going to town and you stop and you think about the nasty, nasty, nasty adult movie that you just watched, that nasty corn that you just watched, you feel disgusting inside. Cassie, and we're going to talk about some of the acts that she was doing in those free calls and some of the things that was taking place. So her watching that back, she felt disgusted inside. But as she just said, she didn't stop because she didn't want him to do it with someone else. And even when they have like the messages of her kind of like expressing, I don't really want to do this no more. She walked it back when he asked her again, well, like you don't want to do this? She would walk it back. So the only messages they have of her expressing she don't want to do it, she walked it back in like the next email. She texts Diddy, "I really need to F." Diddy responded back, kind of like confused, like, "Wait, you don't want to do anymore, right? Like, you told me this before." And she responded back, "I'm so predictable," like kind of saying, "Yeah, I know I said that, but like obviously I want to do it again." So then they asked her, "Yo, what did you think this meant?" She wrote that he knew I didn't want to do the free calls anymore, but then I backpedaled. But then she backpedaled because she wanted to be with Diddy. She just didn't want to do the free calls, but she felt like she had to do the free calls if she wanted to be with Diddy. And this is the scenario that we're currently at. Don't get me wrong. Diddy is a garbage human being. Diddy took advantage. I wholeheartedly believe that Diddy knew in his heart, bro, she was uncomfortable doing certain things, but he just didn't care. He just kept allowing it because he knew that she wanted to please him and she would keep coming back. Diddy is garbage for knowing that this chick didn't want to keep on doing this and she felt disgusted afterwards, but she didn't have the courage to say no because she didn't want to lose him. He knew this and he took advantage and he kept doing it. He's a garbage human being for that. But is this trafficking? Hey, bruh. That's the question here, bro. D- does that mean that man should do 30 to 40 years in jail? That's hey, bro. And that's where we start to ask questions, homie, because we know Diddy is a garbage human being. I think Diddy should do a couple years in jail for putting his hands on it, but he's not being charged with that. Diddy should have done years in prison for putting his hands on Cassie, but he's not being charged with that. He's being charged with this. And from what we're seeing today in court and Cassie's testimony and everything we've seen, bruh, what we're hearing is a slippery slope here, man. And I don't think anybody can look at that and come away with Diddy did this. Diddy trafficked Cassie. I don't feel like anybody thinks that as of now. Maybe there's more, but as of now, nobody really thinks that, to be honest. Now, when you hear and you see the certain things that Cassie was doing in the bedroom, you can see why she would feel disgusted with herself afterwards. In court, the Mill Gigolo testified that Cassie instructed him to take a piss on her. Now this could have been done to make Diddy feel happy or to cater to Diddy's sick fantasy, but you still asked him out of your own mouth. At what point do we say there's free will going on here, bruh?
Allegedly. So he's like, every single time he got the phone call, it was from Cassie. The way that he met them was through his boss. So his boss came to him one day and said, look, I have this couple who wants to do something for the wife. It's a bachelorette party. They need a male stripper. They didn't have a male stripper, so he went. He shows up in an NYPD t-shirt and he says, Cassie opens the door. She's in red lingerie. She's in a wig, dark glasses, and pumps. And she's like, listen, your boss told me that I'm supposed to give you $200, and this is what he's alleging. And instead, she gives him $4,000. She's like, I want to explain to you what's about to happen. So this is not a bachelorette party. My husband likes to do special things for me. He wanted to do this for my birthday. He just wants us to like rub baby oil on each other and, just kind of like get familiar with each other. And whatever happens from there, if you're comfortable, I'm open to it.
It gets more explosive, but that's just one of the reasons why I believe Diddy was never charged with transporting or trafficking the Mill Gigolos, because Cassie was who was paying them. And also, to pay attention and be very smart and alert here, Cassie did not pay them to engage in intercourse. Cassie paid them to rub oil on her. And whatever happens from that point on, happens. But here is your money to rub oil on me. Hey, again, say, man, Flacco, bro, that's obvious, bro. Of course the feds will see through that. Cool, but they not charging Cassie or Diddy with dealing with them. They're charging Diddy with apparently trafficking Cassie and a Jane Doe.
Mm-hmm. So he's like, okay. So he goes in. He says when he walked in on like just
okay.
He literally said Cassie was one of the most beautiful women he ever seen in his life. He couldn't even believe that it was happening like this. So he walks in and he alleges that Puff was there sitting in the room, but you couldn't tell it was him because he had a bandana tied around his face and he had a hat on and he was sitting in the corner. So he randomly was just like recounting their experiences, and he just came out and said, yeah, like, because they were asking him what are some of the things you would have to do. He said, well, one time Cassie asked me to urinate
on her,
on her, and now we all gasping like, oh, wait, because the prosecutors.
Oh, so Cassie asked him, not Diddy.
Exactly, because the prosecutors opened up that literally probably like 15 minutes before that. The prosecutors were like, Cassie is going to tell you that Diddy allegedly made this escort urinate on her. That there's an escort sitting in front of us, sworn in on the stand, saying, no, Cassie told me to do that.
And this is what I was talking about yesterday.
Doing things on your free will to make a man happy and then feeling disgusted with yourself afterwards and having regret does not rise to the level, bruh, that Diddy is currently being charged. We know Diddy put hands on Cassie. He should be in jail for it. He's a despicable human being. Nobody, no real man will ever co-sign that. But it feels like Diddy is being charged with Cassie making decisions to please a man and putting a man's happiness before hers, feeling disgusted afterwards as she recalls exactly what she did for this man who she probably absolutely hates right now, and she's having regrets. But that does not mean that this man trafficked you, bruh. That right there is crazy. Now, Cassie did indeed take the stand, and Cassie told him that she did not want people to piss on her, that she did it only to make Diddy happy. Cassie would say that she did not want it, and they would ask her, how did it feel to get urinated on? And she would say, it was disgusting. It was too much. I choked. No one could think I wanted that. Now, she's saying, bruh, y'all couldn't possibly think I wanted to get urinated on by two guys. But they're like, hold on, bro. This guy said you asked him to do it. So they asked her, why were you choking? She said, too much urine in my mouth. Who else urinated on you? Sean. Did you want Sean to urinate on you? I didn't want anyone to urinate on me. How often did it happen? Often enough. The prosecutors are just not doing a good job at laying the groundwork and laying the foundation for what this is. This is not a domestic violence trial. This is not this is a federal racketeering, a federal RICO. So there was a criminal organization here that helped Diddy to traffic Cassie and traffic Jane Doe. But the person who apparently facilitated a lot of the payments and a lot of the transportation of these men was Cassie. Cassie isn't being accused of being a part of the criminal organization. So if you take out Cassie rolling things, we are not hearing how this was a criminal racketeering organization that trafficked women. We are not seeing this, bruh. And even with the other woman who's a Jane Doe, apparently like this woman, the Jane Doe, she was a fan of Diddy. Like she was just a regular fan, bruh. And apparently if she was so eager to give Diddy what she wanted because she didn't want to lose Diddy. He met her in 2020. She was a single mom who was infatuated with Diddy, wanted to be with Diddy. She was a fan. Now, one night he told her about this, and she made it happen immediately. I mean, she ain't even like had a chance to second guess him. She wouldn't do whatever for him. So he directed her step by step, but she thought it would be a one-time thing. She was wrong. He continued, right? He was even offering her a real relationship if she kept doing it. However, eventually she began to get jealous. Diddy defense attorney actually painted Jane Doe in like a jealous, fanned out type of woman. They would provide messages that showed her offering up to do the freak offs if Diddy would leave those other women. Like she would get really jealous when she would see him probably outside with Young Miami, outside with this woman and this woman and this woman, and she was willing to do whatever for Diddy. Like whatever. Like if he wanted to do it, she would do it. And yeah, they did drugs together. Yeah, they did certain things together, but if she's showing a willingness and an eagerness to do certain things because she don't want Diddy to do it with other women, yeah, Diddy took advantage of her. Yeah, Diddy is probably a garbage human being for, forcing these women. Forcing is crazy. But he knew they weren't all down to do it, but they would do it for him, and he took advantage of that. But that's not criminal. Seasoned courtroom reporters would even make videos saying they don't understand the angle by the prosecutors, and it feels like the prosecutors are dropping the ball because they're wasting too much time on a domestic violence angle. The world and a mama know Diddy is a garbage human being who probably put his hands on women. But this is a trafficking case. So one reporter would even drop a video and he would explain exactly what I'm trying to portray in this video.
Though, but I hate to say it, the bottom line is people who came to watch the case were walking out. I hate to say it, we were getting bored in there with Cassie's testimony. I think everybody thought it was going to be explosive. This is a RICO case. They're trying to show trafficking, if you know what I mean. And I hate to say it, but the government is doing a terrible job at showing it. Now, they are showing, yes, domestic violence. They keep asking her, so at these freak-offs, who selected your outfits? Who Diddy? But they're not showing, okay, this escort was taken, traveled here for this. And it's not showing multiple people involved. All you're seeing the government prove is that Diddy committed domestic violence, but that is a state case that is not need a federal trial. So I hate to say it, guys. We know we don't want this, but I think Diddy could get off on the RICO charges. I'm not seeing it. I could be wrong, but the government is just not doing a great job. I stepped out because I'm just dying in there. It is really hard. It's hard to ride all day. I will have more info on stuff for you guys. Cassie broke down on the stand crying, basically just saying that she loves the diddler and she would do anything for him. And I hate to say it, but I think the defense is going to come back and say, well, this is a case of somebody who is just so in love that she would say, literally, I just wanted to make him happy. I didn't want him to be angry or upset because he didn't know what could happen. And so I think the defense is going to get up there and say, look, you were just so in love with him, you would do anything he asked you to. Well, guess what? That's not, that was your choice. That's what they're going to say is you were an adult and you made that choice, whether good or bad, you made that choice to do anything for him for love. So I don't know, Patriots.
These issues are sensitive because we're faced with a man named Diddy who has done some horrific things to women, and I don't believe he should walk free. I believe that Diddy should have to pay for something. He should have to pay for what we saw in that video. But I don't believe in people being found guilty of things they didn't do. Diddy didn't traffic those women from what we're being presented. Now, if new evidence comes out, I'm willing to say, I was wrong. But from what we're being told is their definition of trafficking, Diddy ain't trafficked those women. But he did put hands on them from my perspective. And I do believe there has to be something. Now, maybe him losing $30 million is the punishment because he paid Cassie $30 million. So if him losing $30 million is the punishment for putting his hands on Cassie, then okay. But all this other stuff, man, it's, this is, bro, it's getting spooky, bro. All right. So y'all let me know in the comment section, though, what do you guys think about this? All right. Now, if you're still watching the video, click on this video here somewhere on my screen to find out how Charleston White just pissed off black people again. I'm going to see you guys in this video somewhere on my screen. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.